Well, we were raised strict because of the nuns and the priests that he had to live with. So, and he was, I think, 5 years old. I can't remember if it was 5 or 6 because they don't know. Nobody has numbers. But he said he was a little boy and he remembers the baby being in my grandma's arms. And they, like, when they got out of residential school, they don't remember where the baby went. So we're thinking, we don't know. Oh, we don't know, you know. And then one time he tried to do repatriation when Delico was doing repatriation, and he got frustrated and gave up. So that was one of his things in life, to find his little baby sister, and he didn't find her. There was 8 of us. We lived in Squabe. Squabe was beautiful. It was like a little wonderland for us, eh? We didn't see the outside world. Um, Went to school. That's when we looked at the world, eh? And but yeah, it was so beautiful, and we were taught lots of stuff by my dad. But prior to that, when my dad got out of residential school, they went to Kenora, St. Mary's, and because my grandma was from Treaty Three, she was um, she was a Pisky from Treaty Three, and that's where she went. I guess after my dad said he told her that with the short time he had with her, that she went back to Dog River, and she spent a lot of time up there delivering babies, and she was a midwife. So she did lots of stuff, and I'm just hearing that now as you sit around with the old folk, and you're almost their age, and it's good to hear because you like to hear about your ancestors because we never knew nothing about my grandmother because of the residential school. We couldn't talk our language. We we went to schools where they strapped us. We had to go on the girls' side and the boys' side, and there was a girls' side and a boys' side. You were forbidden to go on the boys' side. Why I don't know. My brothers were over there, but when I asked my dad, like I always wanted to go to a Protestant school, because they looked like they were having fun over there on Franklin Street, we were in Victoria Avenue, and I wanted to go there, and well, you can't go there. You're a Catholic. Why? I don't want to. I don't want to go. I don't want to pray all day. And we're just sick of praying. I couldn't stand it, and then go home. And every Saturday night, my dad had rosary. It was like cutting into our playtime. So we had to do rosary. So hurry up, let's get over it. Like the kids, you want to go out and play. So yeah, he had all kinds of things going on, like different things happening. But when my dad left, I think Kenora, St. Mary's, they brought him to Franklin Street, and then from Franklin Street, because Indian Affairs and the Indian or the RCMP and the Indian agents, they acted like the Child Welfare, the Children's Aid Society, I guess you can call it, what we call it today. And they took him and put him in a home in the East End with the a Ukrainian family. And the Ukrainian family, like my dad, he taught my dad how to garden. Like my dad could develop the blackest earth on earth, And then he gardened, he he fished, he did small motors. My dad did everything to keep himself occupied till the day he died. So we watched that ethic. That was a good ethic, work ethic. So and then we had, like Yvette said, we had chores, and we get off the bus at 4, and then we sit around, and I think it was Gilligan's Island was the two channels we watched, Gilligan's Island or French. So we had to watch Gilligan's Island, and so we'd had chores, and when we knew what time we got off work, we had everything timed. So the water's boiling on the stove. We're watching Gilligan's Island, and then we speed through the dishes. Everything gets done, right? Because we had rules, right? So like, you know, throughout my life, through the traumas and stuff I had bosses that were real strict to me. in the past, and I can work with them because my dad was like that. He was very authoritarian, where my mom was more authoritative. And she told me, she says, I wanted to go to residential school. And I go, what? She says, I would have changed face. So she couldn't go because, I mean, they told her that she's not an Indian, but she was. But that's the way they were, and when we learned from the colonizer, right? We learned their rules. We learned to be conditioned. We learned to follow rules. All those ethics. So intergenerational trauma to me is my kids telling me, you were mean. I said, what? I thought I was being a supervisor, you know? But I mean parent, right? Single parent. So that's a struggle in itself being a single parent. Because I didn't want to go through violence and that. So I ran away from violence. And a lot of things my dad told us, he would told us that he had to go pick food in the garden about 5 in the morning. And he thought, oh, good, they're going to have a good meal. Picked all that garden food. Plus, they grew the garden, the kids. So they knew how to do all that stuff too from residential school, he told us. And then choir boy, I think, 5 in the morning, or right after you picked the food, you had to go wash and then you had to go to church and be a choir boy. He didn't like that, but he did it. Follow rules. That's what he did. And then he said when they had to go outside, they had all the kids outside playing. You couldn't ask to go to the bathroom or you would get a licking it. He said, so we all, us, he says, and my dad went to school, lots of Whitefish Bay people and lots of Onigaming people and lots of, like, he knows that crew down there, Kenora, eh? He knows that crew. That's the crew that come to him when he applied for this residential school. That's the crew that came, um, one of his schoolmates to support him to do it. And then, what was good to say about that? Anyway, I'll continue on because there's so much to say. And then I guess one time he got locked in a cupboard and we didn't know about residential school. And we had the three little guys here my mom and dad took care of. And then one of those three little guys, like my son and my little nephews, they put my son in that cupboard. And then they leaned on it and they held it, eh? And it triggered my dad. He's screaming around there, hey, don't do that, don't do that. And we're going, what's wrong with you? Like we're telling my dad, what's wrong? They're just playing. So then we found out about that. And then I don't know, my mom would say, don't talk like that to my kids, like, like to my dad, because he was stern. He wasn't, we called him mean because we want to go play outside, right? And we had rules and chores and come in and nap time. Like, who has nap time? Kids are outside skipping in front of your window there. So we endured a lot of that kind of stuff too. Kids playing because we had to have a nap. So they play outside our window. And I don't know. I felt safe with my dad. I fished, hunted, and trapped. I like riding out in the lake on a boat. I didn't like cleaning house like her, Yvette. But I mean, we all had to learn, right? My mom was like that. She'd had to teach us our skills. So yeah, I guess my mom was authoritative and my dad was authoritarian. So I feel like it was a good balance because she'd step in when she needed to. They were both really smart people, my parents. And my dad was a fisherman, so like he fed the community too. Come on, get your fish, whatever you want. Old people and whoever wanted, he told us give them the fish. He said let them have it. And then we'd go out to the farms because my dad worked in the elevator, and I think he worked in the elevator. I think he lied about his age because you had to be 16, right? And you had to get a job. His mom was still alive at that time. Um, I never ever got to meet her. I guess I was in the belly, but so I never ever got to meet her. when I pray, I pray a lot. I pray lots, and people say, "Oh, why do you believe in that Catholic stuff?" I said, "I don't believe in the. I believe in the Catholic stuff because it was, we had to go to school, and I didn't like going to Catholic school. I want to go to Protestant school, but couldn't. There's rules." And then, yeah, and then I later on in life, I went to college, and I said, there's something missing in my life. Like I said before, my part of my journey of healing was going back to school because couldn't handle welfare. It was just awful. So I had to go back to school and do something for my kids and teach them how to be responsible and, you know, how to cope with life. And by showing them how to work the way my dad showed me, I thought that was a good value. So, so I went to school. I, I probably, my kids tell me today that it bothered them that I went to school because they didn't have the time to spend with me. And then after I graduated the Native family, I wanted to jump into the other course because I thought, okay, this is interesting. I helped do it. I helped make this course and, get diploma status with all the board and everybody there. And it was all exciting to me. I didn't know. I thought that was the process. I learned a new process. We were the first to get a diploma status. And that was like, all right. So I started being happy about stuff. And then I went into the course and it was tough. And when I got out, I had another baby. And then after when he was 11 months old, I went to work. And I'm still on the same job. I love my job because of the advocacy work that I do for my people. I love my people. When I see them on the street, are you okay? Yeah. I'm hungry. What do you want to eat? You know? And then I take them to the store, or else I say, wait here. So yeah, I guess, like I said, the balance with my mom and dad. My mom always gave, eh? We'd watch that too, and people would say, why do you give? She says, that could be God. And my mom was really like a godly person, eh? But she was always praying and everything and going to anywhere there was going to be miracles happening. She was there. She was praying. Yeah, it was hard to lose my dad because he was my buddy, my confidant. What my sisters don't know is because I'm a court worker, I helped my dad and his support, and the support went to school with him in Kenora. So I went with them, and we went somewhere by Chippewa there, and we sat there. We got the environment right. I did their legal aids. I did their legal aids, and we hired. Well, the one they had here was Richard Curtis. So that's who they went to. But my process was done because when I did that first application they sent out, I don't know if you had a copy of it. If you ever have a copy of it, get the copy of it. It's redundant. You, it made him mad. He wanted to punch me in the head, and I'm going like, I'm just helping you, Dad. But because I kept triggering him, and I kept triggering them both, and I said, okay, I can't do this. You're gonna have to, you know, I'll do the legal aid, but I can't do this. We'll get you a lawyer. So we got them appointments that day. I said, you have to do this for us, for our kids. And he said, if this money brings back my mother, I'll do it. But if it doesn't, the government can have their money because it means nothing. Because they took my dad away from his mom. And his dad was a fisherman and he drowned it. So that's why the Indian Affairs and Indian agents and RCMP took the kids. Because you could not be, I guess, the timeline in life, you couldn't be a single parent. So, I mean, if it was the way it is now, I wouldn't have been able to raise my kids because it wouldn't have been fit or whatever they call it. I was mad at the lawyer because he phoned my mom because my mom kept me updated. And I was mad at him because he phoned my mom and he told her, your husband wasn't sexually abused. And my mom says, how do you know? Native men have a lot of pride. They would grin and bear it. And my dad, like Yvette said, my dad died. He died of cancer, so he held it. We know he held it. So the lawyer, my mom was screaming at him on the phone. because she was mad at him for talking that way because my dad didn't want to talk to him. And then he said, "I'm gonna rip that application up." Like he was really abusive to my mom, and I got mad and I said, "Do you want me to phone him? Like, I have to work with all these people in this town. Do you want me to phone him? Because I don't appreciate what he said to you. And I don't appreciate what making my dad null and void. How do we know he got sexually abused? He died of cancer. He held something in, you know? There was something about something of why it held him. Anger. He had lots of anger, my dad. He wasn't angry with us. He showed us lots of good things. He got talks about tubing. Yeah, a big long rope. My dad was like a little kid with us, Maybe that was his inner child. I don't know. Maybe we brought that out in. But yeah, he did lots of things with us. He made slides by our house, watered it while we went to church. Of course, he sent us to church, right? And we used to sit in church, and all the old people sit behind us. And me and Yvette would look at each other and giggle, in church. And somebody elder would pull our hair in the back, and I go. So the next time I went to church, I was up there in the choir. Nobody can pull my hair. So that's about it. Pay the people. Use as the ones that hurt them. Take ownership. It's affected us. It's affected my kids and probably my grandkids. They tell me to calm down and, different from my kids, calm down. So that's what I would say to them. Pay out the people that never got paid because those people suffered.